My name is Madeline Grant, and until exactly 15 minutes ago, I believed I had the kind of marriage people envy. A husband I trusted, a career I loved, a future that felt secure. I should have known better. It started on a Thursday morning like any other. I was at Summit Legal Group, finalizing a merger contract with a tech startup. The conference room smelled faintly of espresso and toner. My assistant had just emailed over the latest shareholder agreement when Jenna Alvarez, my closest friend and fellow partner, burst through the door without knocking. "Madeline," she panted, her dark hair slightly windblown, "you need to see this, right now." I blinked. Jenna never interrupts meetings. "Is someone hurt?" She didn't speak, just handed me her phone, and that's when my world shifted. There he was, Brandon Turner, my husband of 8 years, wearing his signature Ray-Bans, lounging like a smug little emperor at what looked very much like a beachfront bar in Maui. His linen shirt was unbuttoned halfway, revealing a tan I hadn't noticed before. But that wasn't what made my throat close. It was her. Savannah Brooks, 26, Brandon's executive assistant at Westfield Development. She was seated beside him, her shoulder tucked under his arm like a puzzle piece that fit too easily. Her coral lipstick matched her drink. Her smile was radiant, smug, possessive. The caption read, "Sunset vibes with my soul," tagged, "at Savannah Brooks 89 and a Brandon T." Work timestamp, 2 minutes ago. I slowly looked down at my phone. There, just 5 minutes earlier, was a message from Brandon. "Hey babe, caught 3 trout today. The solitude's really helping clear my mind. I love you." My hand didn't shake. My eyes didn't blur. I didn't cry. I just stared at the words, then back at the photo. "That's wonderful, honey," I typed back, calm and robotic. "I'm so glad you're finding peace in nature." Jenna was watching me, half horrified. "Mad? Are you seriously texting him back?" I closed my laptop. My voice was unnervingly steady. "He sent me a photo earlier, some stock image of a tent beside a lake. I thought it looked suspiciously generic." Jenna's mouth fell open. "Are you saying he's not even trying?" "Oh, he's trying," I said quietly, picking up a legal pad. "He just thinks he's smarter than me." She sat down slowly. "So what are you going to do?" I smiled, cool, sharp, the kind of smile that wins depositions. "I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to build a case. And then I'm going to bury him with it." For the first time in years, I saw our marriage clearly. Not as the partnership I thought it was, but as a performance I'd been cast in without reading the full script. I met Brandon during grad school at UC Berkeley. He was magnetic, charming, confident, ambitious. I was focused, quiet, more driven by discipline than charm. He said I made him better. I believed him. After graduation, he persuaded me to move back to his hometown, Portland, instead of accepting a dream offer in San Francisco. "We're building something real together," he'd said. "Let's do this side by side." So I stayed. I took a job at Summit Legal and rose through the ranks. He landed a spot at Westfield, eventually managing high-end real estate portfolios. On paper, we were a power couple, but behind closed doors, things shifted. Brandon liked being admired, applauded, and while he smiled through my promotions, I could feel the tension, the way he'd go silent when clients requested me instead of him for negotiation reviews, the way he called my late nights overcompensation. The subtle jabs, "Don't forget to breathe, boss lady. You work harder than any man I know. Must be exhausting." Still, I made excuses. He was stressed. He was feeling insecure. Marriage is compromise, right? Apparently compromise now included beachfront cocktails and lying through text messages. I turned back to Jenna. "Savannah's only been at his firm, 6 months?" "7, she said. "Remember that charity gala last fall? She was glued to his hip like a damn shadow." I laughed bitterly. "More like a parasite." Then I opened my banking app. I shouldn't have, but I did. Within seconds, my stomach dropped. Luxury hotel bookings, dinner charges in Honolulu, jewelry purchases from places I didn't recognize, 2 first-class flights, booked 2 weeks ago under both their names. I felt cold. All of this on our joint account. Jenna looked over my shoulder, eyes wide. "Oh my God, Madeline, that's not just cheating, that's theft." "I know," I whispered, "and I'm going to collect every receipt." I started downloading PDFs, screenshots, sorting transactions by vendor, date, and location. Every detail mattered. I labeled folders: credit card abuse, travel records, Savannah social posts, stock photos sent. I printed everything. Jenna watched silently, then finally said, "I've seen you do this to Fortune 500 companies, but this is personal." "It's still a case," I said, "and the outcome will be the same." By the time I left the office that evening, I had everything I needed to build a case against my own husband. Not for the court, not yet. For me. For the woman who gave up San Francisco, who built a home and a future with a man she thought had her back. He wanted a secret life? He was about to learn how dangerous secrets can be when the person you lied to builds legal strategies for a living. The next morning, I stood in front of the Portland Community Credit Union, dressed in my sharpest navy pantsuit like I was headed into battle. And in a way, I was. My heels clicked with purpose on the concrete as I walked through the glass doors, holding a folder thick with evidence and betrayal. The manager, Terry Michaels, spotted me from across the lobby. "Mrs. Grant," he greeted me, surprised. "We weren't expecting you today." "I need to discuss suspicious activity on my joint accounts," I said, voice clipped but steady. "I believe my husband has been transferring funds without my knowledge or consent." Terry's friendly expression dropped. "Please, come with me." In his office, I laid out the printed statements, highlighting travel expenses, jewelry purchases, and first-class flights I had never taken. Terry examined the documents, frowning. "He made these transfers over the last 2 months," I explained. "Several accounts, all tied to joint credit and checking." Within 40 minutes, all our shared accounts were frozen. My personal funds immediately transferred into a new trust under my name only, protected by multiple layers of security, a process I'd helped draft for business clients a dozen times over, now weaponized for my own survival. Brandon wouldn't find out until it was too late. I imagined him handing his platinum card to a waitress in Maui, only to hear the quiet, humiliating decline. The thought brought me more satisfaction than I expected. I walked out of the bank feeling like a glacier, silent, controlled, unstoppable. Back at Summit Legal, Jenna was already at my desk with a stack of printed screenshots. "You are not going to believe how dumb they've been," she said, eyes wide. "Try me." She flipped through pages of Savannah Brooks's Instagram, Facebook, and even her LinkedIn posts. "There's an entire album called Island Escape. I mean, who does this?" Savannah had documented everything. Brandon shirtless in a hammock, champagne toasts under tiki torches, a boomerang of them kissing on a balcony, silhouetted by a Hawaiian sunset. A selfie with a caption, "He said I deserved to shine," featuring a diamond necklace I'd never seen. I went home during lunch and checked my jewelry drawer. Empty. Nothing new. Nothing sparkly. He had bought her diamonds, with my money. I printed the post and slid it into my growing file. Then I did what any lawyer would do when facing workplace misconduct. I searched my inbox for the Westfield Employee Handbook. 2 years ago, Westfield had hired me to assist in reviewing their corporate compliance policies. I'd forgotten I still had access. Until now. There it was. Romantic relationships between supervisors and direct reports are strictly prohibited. Violation may result in termination. Perfect. I called Cynthia Voss, Westfield's HR director and a former client of mine. "Cynthia, it's Madeline Grant. I'm reaching out regarding a sensitive matter. It involves Brandon Turner and his assistant, Savannah Brooks." There was a pause. "Okay, what kind of matter?" I emailed her a compressed folder titled Policy Violations, Evidence. Social media posts, screenshots, timeline of charges, romantic captions, and location tags. She called back almost instantly. "Oh my God," she whispered. "This is very serious. I'll have to escalate this to our executive board immediately." "I thought you should see it before this turns into a PR disaster," I said smoothly. "Thank you, Madeline. We'll take it from here." I hung up. Then I made another call to Locksmiths of Portland. Yes, I'd like to schedule an emergency lock change for a residential property. Today, if possible. Brandon had never bothered to handle home maintenance. He didn't even know who our locksmith was. That oversight was about to cost him. While I waited, I began packing his belongings. Every monogrammed shirt, every overpriced cologne, that stupid espresso machine he insisted we needed but never learned how to use. I dropped them all into thick black trash bags and lined them neatly on our front porch. 8 years of marriage, reduced to 5 sacks and a single sticky note taped to the top. Hope the camping trip was worth it. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Brandon, miss you, babe. Hope everything's okay. The forest has no signal, so I might be offline for a bit. I stared at the message, stunned by the audacity. Then I typed, miss you too. Quick question. Did you remember to pay the Amex before you left? Less than a minute later, of course, sweetheart, always on top of it. I walked over to the counter, picked up the unopened overdue notice, and laughed out loud. Loud enough that my dog, Marley, tilted his head at me like I was losing it. Another lie, another receipt. Just then Jenna called again. Madeline, you need to see this. Savannah just posted something new. I opened Facebook and felt my jaw clench. There he was, again. Brandon raising a glass of champagne on a yacht. Savannah in a low-cut white dress leaning against him like they were posing for an engagement shoot. Caption. Living my best life with my soulmate. No more secrets. No more hiding. No more hiding indeed, I muttered. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Cynthia at HR. Then I called Alyssa Chen, my divorce attorney. It's time, I told her. Let's file. That night I lay awake in the guest room. I couldn't bring myself to sleep in the master. Too many memories, too many lies. But I didn't cry. I wasn't broken. I was furious, focused, and for the first time in a long time, dangerous. Brandon's plane landed at Portland International Airport on a rainy Sunday afternoon. He texted me a selfie from the baggage claim with a big, dumb smile and the caption, "Back to reality, missed you like crazy, can't wait to hold you." Reality, I thought bitterly, was about to hit him harder than that jet's landing gear. By the time his Uber pulled into our driveway, he was already locked out. The new Schlag smart locks I'd installed weren't subtle. The keypad blinked red when he tried his code, then flashed, "Access denied." I was watching from the upstairs window with a glass of Merlot in hand. He pounded on the front door, once, twice. Then he stepped back, confused, and pulled out his phone. I let it ring once before answering. "Hey, babe," he said brightly. "Something's up with the lock. Maybe the batteries died." "Oh, no," I said, sweet as poison. "They work just fine." Silence. Then quieter. "Madeline, what's going on?" I didn't answer. Just hung up, and forwarded a single image to his phone, a screenshot of Savannah's sunset yacht post. Living my best life with my soulmate. No more secrets. I didn't hear from him for the next 5 hours, but others called. First up, James Nolan, the CEO of Westfield Development. He didn't bother with small talk. "Mrs. Grant, I assume you're aware of what's circulating online." "I am." "We've begun a preliminary audit. It's not just about the relationship with his assistant. We're finding expense reports that don't align. Luxury accommodations, first-class tickets billed as client meetings, even jewelry purchases." I let him talk. Then I said, "I have a spreadsheet of matching charges on our personal accounts, if you'd like to cross-reference." He paused. "You already logged the discrepancies?" "I'm a corporate lawyer, James. Tracking paper trails is what I do." "I see," he said. "In that case, I may be reaching out for a formal statement." I ended the call, knowing this was just the beginning. And I was right. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. A woman's voice, nervous, young. "Is this Madeline Grant?" "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Harper Lane. I used to live with Savannah. I think there's something you should know." I didn't breathe. Harper continued, "This isn't the first time Savannah and Brandon have done this." My heart pounded. "At his last firm in Seattle, they pulled something similar," she said. "They targeted a divorced executive, got close, took compromising photos, then threatened exposure unless he paid to keep it quiet." I sat down, stunned. You're telling me this is a con? It was, she said, but this time it's different. Savannah caught feelings. She stopped following the plan, started posting online. Brandon's furious. He's blaming her. I felt dizzy. The room shifted slightly. So it wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just lies. It was manipulation, extortion, a financial predator hiding behind a wedding ring. And why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Because Savannah called me crying last night, said Brandon threatened to ruin her life if she didn't take the fall. He's going to say she seduced him, hacked his accounts. He'll make her the scapegoat. I clenched my jaw. Let him try. I called James Nolan back immediately. I just got a tip that Brandon and Savannah have done this before, multiple times. You may be sitting on a corporate blackmail scheme. I met him at Westfield within the hour. He looked pale when I finished laying out Harper's statement, the photos, the financial records, the internal emails Savannah had posted, then deleted. 3 other clients, he whispered. They defrauded 3 other clients. And more if you don't act fast. James picked up his phone. Get legal, compliance, and call the feds. As I left the building, my phone buzzed again. Brandon. Hey, babe, just got out of the woods. That trip really gave me clarity. I want to make things right. Right. There's been an issue with one of our accounts, I replied. Check your email. Attached. Harper's full statement. Screenshots from Savannah's deleted posts. A document titled Intent to Divorce. The subject line? You always said you wanted a wake-up call. 6 missed calls. Voicemails I didn't bother playing. 1 final message. We can fix this. I love you. I didn't reply, but someone else did. That night, Savannah posted a shaky video to Instagram, tearfully denying the scheme and claiming she was just in love. The caption, I didn't know he was married. I didn't know it would go this far. I just wanted something real. An hour later, her account vanished. Brandon's fantasy was unraveling, faster than he could lie his way through it. But I wasn't done. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice. At precisely 8:00 a.m., the next day, I walked into the federal building in downtown Portland, shoulders squared, folder in hand, and rage tucked neatly behind my blazer lapel. I wasn't just a wife anymore. I wasn't just a woman scorned. I was a walking affidavit. Agent Camille Hayes met me in a quiet conference room on the 4th floor. She was sharp-eyed, efficient, and didn't waste a single breath on sympathy. Ms. Grant, she began, sliding a legal pad in front of her. I've reviewed the digital folder your contact at Westfield sent over. From what we can see, we may be looking at federal offenses. Wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, corporate embezzlement. I nodded. There's more. I handed over a flash drive. Everything's categorized by date and financial institution. Screenshots of Savannah's deleted posts. Harper Lane's voice memo. Timeline of bank activity, including the Cayman Islands account they used to hide client funds. Agent Hayes arched an eyebrow. You did all this on your own? I'm a corporate attorney, I said calmly. Following money is what I do for a living. Just never thought I'd have to do it to my own husband. She smiled slightly. Well, I hope he didn't think he married an amateur. I said nothing. I didn't need to. That afternoon, chaos exploded at Westfield Development. Brandon had flown back under the radar, hoping to lay low, but someone tipped off the authorities. Probably Savannah, or her lawyer. I didn't care. He was arrested at Portland International Airport as he tried to board a flight to San Diego, allegedly for a real estate conference. The irony made me laugh out loud. Meanwhile, Savannah was picked up at a luxury spa downtown, mid-facial, as if exfoliation would erase federal charges. The headline broke by 6:00 p.m. Executive duo arrested in multi-state financial scheme. FBI confirms ongoing investigation. I watched it on my living room TV with a glass of wine in one hand and Marley curled up at my feet. My phone buzzed. Blocked number. I answered, expecting silence. Instead, Brandon's voice, hollow, furious, terrified. Madeline, you don't know what you've done. Sure I do, I said evenly. I reported a federal crime, several actually. It's not what it looks like. Savannah lied to me. I didn't know she was posting all that crap. Did she lie about the joint transfers, the offshore accounts, the fake invoices to your clients? He hesitated, then growled, "You think you're so clever." I smiled into the silence. "No, Brandon, I know I'm clever. But what's really satisfying is that now, so does the FBI." He started to speak, but I hung up. A minute later, Agent Hayes texted me. "Just got confirmation. He cracked. Confessed the existence of 3 offshore accounts and named 2 additional firms he worked this scheme on. We'll be coordinating with other states tonight." The house of cards had officially collapsed, but the best part? I wasn't finished. That night, I emailed James Nolan to request a formal meeting with Westfield's legal board. I'd considered walking away, but the opportunity to help clean house from the inside and protect others from future predators like Brandon was too tempting. At 9:00 the next morning, I stood before the Westfield Board of Directors, all in tailored suits and shell-shocked expressions. I placed a binder in front of them labeled Proposed Ethics and Fraud Prevention Policy, Immediate Implementation. James leaned forward. "You're proposing we overhaul our entire compliance system?" "I'm not proposing," I said. "I'm offering to lead the team that does it." A beat. Then the head of legal, an older woman named Elaine Rutherford, gave a curt nod. I second the motion. It passed unanimously. Afterward, James pulled me aside. "Madeline," he said, "what you've done here, it's extraordinary, and I think it's only right that we offer you the position of Chief Legal Counsel." I blinked. I wasn't expecting. "Yes, you were," he interrupted gently, "and you deserve it." I shook his hand. "Then I accept." That evening, Jenna showed up at my house with 2 bottles of wine and a bag of Thai takeout. "I heard Brandon tried to negotiate a plea deal," she said, unpacking spring rolls. "He's cooperating with the feds," I confirmed, "offering to testify against the other executives they conned. Apparently, this thing's bigger than even I thought." Jenna handed me a glass. "You okay?" I looked around, at the clean countertops, the open windows, the peace. "He always said my career was just a hobby, something I'd eventually outgrow when we had kids." Jenna raised her glass. "To karma." I raised mine too, eyes steady. "To justice." The trial was brief, astonishingly so. Brandon accepted a plea deal within 3 weeks of his arrest, 8 years in federal prison with eligibility for parole after 5. Savannah Brooks, who cooperated with the FBI after her emotional Instagram meltdown, received 5 years with 2 suspended. The courtroom was packed, yet somehow silent when the final verdicts were read. The judge, a stern woman named Barbara Stone, looked unimpressed with both of them. I wore the same navy blue suit I'd worn during my first mock trial at Berkeley, back when I thought justice was a concept you pursued only in theory. Standing there now, in that same suit, I felt full circle. Brandon stared at me the entire time. His eyes were hollow, sunken. The tan he'd picked up in Maui had faded, so had his arrogance. He tried to speak before sentencing, raising one hand like a man who thought he still had a voice in this story. "Your Honor," he said, his voice cracking, "my wife and I could—" Judge Stone didn't even blink. "Mr. Turner," she said crisply, "your wife is not pressing charges. The United States government is. This court has reviewed overwhelming evidence of wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and abuse of fiduciary responsibility. You manipulated your employer, your clients, and your marriage. This isn't a relationship issue. This is organized crime." The bailiff stepped forward. Brandon's mouth opened again, but nothing came out. I didn't stay to watch him be led away. I walked out of that courthouse and into the cold, crisp Portland morning, head high, heels sharp, the lightest I'd felt in years. The following week, I officially accepted James Nolan's offer to become Chief Legal Counsel at Westfield Development. I moved into the corner office Brandon had once called just a pipe dream. The brass nameplate on the door read, Madeline Grant, Esquire, Chief Legal Officer. But I wasn't done. I launched a consulting firm on the side, Grant Advisory Solutions. Tagline, "We don't just prevent fraud, we destroy it before it begins." I expected a few clients at most, Maybe some startups, small firms trying to stay compliant. I was wrong. Within a month, we had clients across 3 states. Requests poured in from firms wanting forensic audits, ethics training, and Madeline-style damage control. Apparently, being the woman who exposed one of Oregon's biggest corporate scandals made me marketable. The Portland Business Journal ran a cover story titled, "The Fraud Whisperer: How Madeline Grant Turned Betrayal into Big Business." I never sought publicity, but I understood its usefulness. One crisp morning in December, 6 months after sentencing, Harper Lane walked into my office, nervous but determined. She looked different, confident, stable, like someone who had spent time healing. "I heard you help businesses now," she said, her hands gripping a leather notebook. "I'm starting a small marketing agency, just me and a friend, but after everything, I want to do it right." I smiled. "You came to the right place." She hesitated. "How much is your consultation fee?" "First session's on me," I said, gesturing toward the chair across from me. "You already helped blow open a federal case. Consider this your referral bonus." Later that week, James Nolan stopped by my office. He handed me a thick file folder. "New client. Real estate firm in Salem. Big one. They requested you personally, said they want the Madeline Grant audit." I raised an eyebrow. "That's a thing now?" He grinned. "Apparently." He lingered in the doorway. "Oh, one more thing. Brandon wrote me. From prison." I didn't even look up from my laptop. "Let me guess. He wants someone to convince me to write back." "Pretty much," James replied. "What did you tell him?" "I told him you were too busy running 2 businesses to read prison mail." I finally glanced up, catching my reflection in the window. The woman staring back wasn't broken. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't angry. She was whole. A survivor, a strategist, and a damn good lawyer. "Perfect answer," I said, returning to my email. Weeks passed, then months. Life settled into a new rhythm. My days were filled with client calls, ethics seminars, fraud investigations, and, occasionally, lunch with Jenna, who never let me forget that she'd been the one to shove the first piece of evidence into my hands. "You know," she said one afternoon as we sat in our favorite cafe, "I think Brandon really believed you wouldn't fight back." I sipped my coffee. He married a lawyer and still thought he'd win. That's the real crime. We laughed, but deep down, I knew why he underestimated me. It wasn't just because I'd trusted him, it was because he thought trust made me weak, but trust is a strength until it's betrayed. And once it is, there's no power stronger than a woman who knows how to fight smart. That winter, I started teaching part-time at Lewis and Clark Law School, leading a seminar called Fraud, Ethics, and Internal Justice. My students were bright-eyed, curious, hungry to change the world. I saw pieces of myself in them, and every time I stood in front of the lecture hall, I reminded them of one thing. Justice doesn't always knock politely. Sometimes you have to build the door and invite it in yourself. I never heard from Brandon again. Oh, I'm sure he tried, maybe even wrote a dozen letters, but I never opened them. Some chapters don't need a final page, they just need to end, and mine ended in fire and started again in steel.